You are always free to choose the concept you wish to sustain of yourself. Sustain it with faith, and the world will have no choice but to reflect your belief. Neville Goddard. Not everyone is ready for this message. In fact, almost no one is. Because the truth, when it's raw, is frightening. When it comes without makeup, without filters, without the comfort of excuses, it dismantles. It shatters. It strips the ego bare and reveals what's behind the mask. Are you ready? Ready to hear something that will challenge everything you believed about yourself, about the world, about what's possible? Ready to face the fact that you're not a victim of your circumstances, but the author of your own reality? Not everyone can handle that. Not everyone can swallow the bitter taste of full responsibility. It's easier to believe the system is to blame. The parents, the government, God, the past. It's easier to keep sleeping. But some feel something different. A discomfort, a noise deep within the soul, a void that can't be filled with distractions, with likes, or with hollow achievements. And those few are ready to awaken, ready to remember. Are you one of them? Then listen with your heart, because this message isn't for everyone. It's for those who are tired of merely surviving. It's for those who are ready to truly live. Most people live like leaves in the wind, carried by circumstances, prisoners of other people's opinions, crushed by what they call reality. But what is real, after all? What you see with your eyes, or what you sustain with your consciousness? You are not what the world says you are. You are what you believe yourself to be, even if no one else sees it yet. You don't live what you deserve. You live what you accept. You don't receive what you desire. You receive what you expect. Life doesn't give you what you want. It gives you what you vibrate. And that changes everything. Because if your reality is destroying you, you are the one unconsciously creating that destruction. If everything feels stuck, it's you who is holding the chains in place. If the results aren't changing, it's because your inner state remains the same. The truth is violent, but it's also liberating. You don't need to keep desperately chasing goals. You don't need to beg for love, recognition, or validation. You only need to do one thing. Step into your role as a creator. Everything that exists in the physical world was born in the invisible. Light was born in Edison's mind. The theme park was born in Walt Disney's heart. The iPhone was born in Jobs' vision before it became code. They weren't magicians. They were ordinary humans with a power that few have the courage to use. Disciplined imagination. Most people use imagination to fear, to worry, to project failure, rejection, and scarcity. But those who are ready use imagination to build worlds. They don't wait to see in order to believe. They believe, and then they see. That's the difference between living on autopilot and living awakened. Between existing by inertia and manifesting with intention. The question is, are you ready to become that kind of being? Because it takes courage. Courage to die to who you were and be reborn into who you truly are. You won't manifest a new world by being the same person you've always been. The old self needs to die. The one who complains, the one who blames, the one who drags through the days, waiting for an external miracle, the one who lives reacting, exploding, sabotaging, running away. That's not you. That's the reflection of collective hypnosis. An existential zombie trained to survive, but not to create. And you feel it. You know it. You know there's something greater within you trying to emerge. A version of yourself that watches everything from afar, silent but unwavering. It doesn't scream, beg, or rush. It simply is. And it's waiting for you to accept it, to embody it, to set it free. But what's holding you back? What still makes you wake up every day as if it's the same movie playing on repeat? Conditioning. Old mental programs running in the background. Childhood words. Unprocessed trauma. Inherited fears. Other people's expectations disguised as your identity. You don't have to carry that anymore. But there's no use in running. No use pretending to be positive while fear still governs from within. You must look with brutal honesty, with love, but without pity. You need to say goodbye to the version of you that only knows how to repeat. You need to bury the character that hides behind excuses. You need to let go of the belief that one day it will all happen, because nothing happens until you change. It's in that inner funeral that freedom is born. When you stop negotiating with your own mediocrity, when you say, enough, and then something begins to vibrate differently. You stand taller. You speak with more presence. You choose with more clarity. You feel a peace that doesn't depend on anything, because you know you're being reborn. But this time by choice. Not everyone can handle that death. Not everyone has the courage to leave behind the comfort of familiar pain. But you were called by this message for a reason. And this isn't a coincidence. It's a calling. And then your breathing changes. You wake up and no longer feel the same rush. Silence no longer frightens you. It embraces you. The news no longer controls you. It simply passes. You look at the world, and for the first time, the world looks back. Not as an enemy, but as a mirror. Because you've changed. And when you change, everything changes. People feel it, even if they don't understand. Doors open, even if it doesn't make sense. Things come to you, not because you chase them, but because you radiate. The universe doesn't respond to desperate pleas. It responds to frequency. It doesn't understand words. It understands vibration. And now you vibrate differently. No longer from lack. No longer from neediness. No longer from guilt. Now you vibrate from the center, from a place of inner sovereignty, from a space of certainty that depends on nothing external. You start to realize what you once saw as obstacles were only reflections of old beliefs. The world wasn't blocking you. You were blocking the flow with your own fears. But now you've stopped. Stopped resisting. Stopped trying to control everything. Stopped shrinking to fit into lives that were never yours. And in that moment, the world begins to bow to your new state of being. Because the universe isn't linear, it's quantum. It doesn't need time. It needs inner space. And when that space opens, things come. The right people appear. Opportunities sprout from nowhere. Answers arrive like whispers in the wind. You're no longer trying to manifest. You are the living manifestation of what was once just an idea. You became the channel. You became the portal. You became the miracle itself. Not everyone will understand. Some will doubt. Others will call you crazy. But you no longer need to be understood. You only need to be whole. And wholeness isn't explained. It's felt. And when you feel it, the universe confirms it. Don't be fooled. The universe will test your new vibration. Not because it wants to punish you, but because it wants to know if you're serious. It wants to know if you're steady. It wants to know if you're real. It's easy to feel powerful when everything flows. But what about when things stall? When the numbers don't add up? When that call doesn't come, when doubt whispers again, what if nothing changes? That's when most people return to the old frequency. Back to anxiety, back to fear, back to chasing, as if they've forgotten everything they once learned. But you've seen too much to forget. You've felt too deeply to pretend. You've grown too much to fit into what once felt small. And now, you must prove it, not to the world, but to yourself. It's in the apparent absence that true faith is forged. It's in the silence of the universe that your vibration is refined. Because manifestation isn't about seeing to believe. It's about maintaining the state even when the world screams the opposite. And it's in that moment, that exact moment, that the universe bows. When you hold the vibration even in the darkness. When you trust even without signs. When you walk even with no ground beneath you. That's when it comes. It delivers. It responds. It conspires. Because now you're no longer testing reality. You're shaping it. And reality, my friend, it obeys. But only those who master themselves. Those who quiet the mind's noise and listen to the soul's truth. Those who have the courage to sustain the frequency, even when everything begs for collapse. You are no longer the one who suffers through the weight. You are the one who holds the vision with conviction. You are the one who turns waiting into unwavering certainty. And that changes everything. And then it happens. Without warning, without logic, without anyone's permission. The message arrives. The project flows. The connection appears. The money moves. The path becomes clear. And you feel it. The universe is responding, as if it had been waiting all along for you to remember who you truly are. It's not magic. It's alignment. You don't attract what you pretend to be. You attract what you truly are, deep within. And now you are. Effortlessly. Without drama. Without chasing. But be mindful. Because when the blessings come, the test changes form. The challenge now is different. Not to get lost in what you've achieved. Not to forget that what arrived was a result, not the source. Not to disconnect from the frequency that created it all. Many do exactly that. They achieve, then relax. They manifest, then get distracted. They receive, then fall back asleep. But not you. Because you know, the true creator doesn't get addicted to the creation. He honors the power. He expands with gratitude. He receives, but does not cling. You are not the car, not the bank account, not the status. You are the frequency behind it all. And that frequency, when sustained with awareness, has no limit. Life begins to open like an infinite code. The more you trust, the more it delivers. The more you are, the less you need to have. And the less you need, the more everything flows to you. You become a magnetic field, not out of arrogance, but out of clarity, not to prove anything, but because you're at peace with the whole. And in that peace, creation accelerates. Because you've stepped out of the way. You've stopped trying to control. And you've started letting life surprise you. And it will. The universe rewards you when you stop chasing and start walking hand in hand with what you want to manifest. You don't chase. You embody. You don't seek. You allow. You don't beg. You decide. And that's when everything changes. You made it this far. And that says everything. Because this message wasn't meant for everyone. It wasn't made to please. It wasn't shaped to fit. It isn't comfortable. It's transformative. And transformation, my friend, hurts, burns, breaks. But in the end, it sets you free. Maybe while the world screams outside, you're in silence now, not listening to my voice, but to your own. Maybe you're remembering what you've always known, that you were never small, never a victim, never wrong. You were just hypnotized. But now you're waking up, and a soul that awakens doesn't go back to sleep. So hear this with an open heart. You don't need to chase. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to convince anyone. You only need to be. Be who you know you are, even if the whole world denies it. Be what your vision showed you, even if it hasn't materialized yet. Be now what you want to live later. That is the secret. That is the code. That is the key few are ready to carry. Not because they can't, but because they're not ready yet. But you are. You've walked through the fire of doubt. You faced the death of your old self. You held the vibration when the world gave you no proof. And now you've created space. Space for the new. Space for the extraordinary. Space for the impossible. And the impossible is on its way. Because the universe doesn't fail. It simply responds. And now, it's coming with rewards beyond what you ever imagined. But remember this. Not everyone is ready for this message. But you are. Now it's your turn. To live the truth. To walk with confidence. To inspire by example. To be light in the midst of programming. You are no longer the seeker. You are the creator. And if this message touched your soul, if something inside you awakened, then prove it to yourself. Write in the comments, I believe. Because those who believe, create. And if you felt this, share it with someone who needs to wake up. Leave a like as a sign of presence. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next messages. Because the next one will go even deeper. I'll see you there. But first, breathe, close your eyes, and remember who you are. You are ready. The universe already knows.